20,000 years ago, the animal sitting outside your tent at night wasn't your friend. It was a wolf. It could kill you in your sleep. It could rip apart your children. And yet, somehow, that same animal is now sleeping on your couch, wearing a sweater and licking your face. Good morning. Nobody planned this. No ancient human ever said, let's create a pet. What actually happened is stranger, darker, and more brutal than anything you've heard. And it started with the bravest, most dangerous wolves choosing to break every rule of nature. This is the real story of how the wolf became the dog. And by the end of this video, you'll never look at your dog the same way again. Picture a hunter-gatherer camp, somewhere in Ice Age Europe or Asia. Fires burning, meat roasting, and in the darkness beyond the firelight, eyes. Dozens of them. Wolves, watching, waiting. For most wolves, humans meant danger. Spears, traps, death. The smart move, evolutionarily speaking, was to stay far away. Fear kept wolves alive. But every population has outliers. And in every wolf pack, there were a handful of individuals with slightly different wiring. Wolves who felt less fear, who were curious instead of cautious, who were willing to take a risk that could get them killed. These wolves crept closer to the camps, not to hunt humans, to steal from them. Bones, scraps, rotting meat nobody wanted. Garbage, essentially. It was disgusting, low-value food, but it was food that required zero effort to catch. And this single decision made by animals, not humans, is where the entire story of dogs begins. Here's where it gets brutal. This wasn't a friendship forming, this was survival math. The bold wolves who could tolerate being near humans got a reliable food source. More food meant more energy, better health, and more surviving pups. The aggressive, high-strung wolves who attacked humans or camps, they got speared, killed, removed from the gene pool permanently. Generation after generation, something was happening that no one intended. Humans were accidentally running the most powerful breeding experiment in history. Without meaning to, they were killing off the aggressive wolves and feeding the calm ones. Scientists now call this process self-domestication, because the wolves, in a sense, domesticated themselves. Humans were just an unwitting filter. Within a few thousand years, a new kind of wolf emerged. Calmer, less fearful, more tolerant of humans. Not tame yet, but no longer purely wild either. This creature was neither wolf nor dog. It was something in between. Scientists call it a transitional population, but you can think of it as the first draft of dog. If this theory sounds too simple to be true, here's the experiment that proves it could actually happen, and it's one of the strangest in scientific history. In 1959, a Soviet scientist named Dmitri Belyaev started a secret breeding program using silver foxes, wild, aggressive animals, nothing like dogs. His rule was brutally simple. Every generation only breed the calmest, least fearful foxes. Nothing else mattered. Not appearance, not intelligence, just tameness. What happened next shocked everyone. Within just a few generations, without anyone selecting for it, the foxes began to physically transform. Their ears started flopping instead of standing up. Their tails curled instead of staying straight. Patches of white fur appeared on their coats. They started barking. Some even wagged their tails around humans. Nobody bred them for any of that. They were only selected for one trait, calmness, and an entire cascade of dog-like features appeared as a side effect. This told scientists something huge. The genes that control fear and aggression are wired to the same genetic pathways that control physical traits like ear shape, fur color, and tail curl. Select for tameness, and you accidentally get floppy ears and curly tails for free. Which means the wolves that hung around ancient human camps weren't just becoming friendlier on the inside. Their bodies were changing too, without anyone trying to change them. Once these tamer proto-dogs were a regular presence around camps, something shifted. Humans stopped being passive filters and started actively choosing. They noticed which animals barked to warn of danger, which ones were better at tracking prey, which ones were gentle enough to be near children, and they began deliberately keeping and breeding those individuals, a process called artificial selection. This is a completely different mechanism from natural selection. Nature no longer decided who survived. Humans did. And humans didn't just want not dangerous anymore, they wanted useful. Hunting partners, guards, herders, companions. Over thousands of years, this human-driven selection pushed these animals further and further away from wolves, physically, mentally, genetically, until they became something new entirely. Canis familiaris, the domestic dog. Here's the twist most people don't know. The dogs sitting in your home today are not descended from any wolf alive on Earth right now. Genetic studies show that dogs split off from an ancient, now extinct population of wolves, a lineage that no longer exists in its original form. The modern grey wolf you see in documentaries is actually more like a distant cousin of the dog, not its parent, and scientists still don't fully agree on some of the biggest questions. Did domestication happen once, in one location? Or did it happen multiple times, independently, in different parts of the world, with different wolf populations converging on the same outcome? The evidence is genuinely split, and new discoveries keep reshaping the timeline. What we do know is staggering. This process began somewhere between 20,000 and 40,000 years ago, which would make the dog not just man's oldest companion, but possibly the first animal humans ever domesticated, long before farming, long before livestock, long before humans had even settled into permanent villages. Every other domesticated animal, cows, sheep, chickens, came after. Dogs were first. So the next time your dog curls up next to you, remember what you're actually looking at. The end result of tens of thousands of years of fear, survival, risk, and an accidental experiment that turned one of the most dangerous predators on Earth into your best friend. It wasn't designed. It wasn't planned. It was earned, one brave, calm wolf at a time. If this blew your mind, subscribe, because next week I'm covering the domestication story that's even weirder, how humans turned wild grass into wheat and accidentally built entire civilizations because of it.